It is my great privilege to welcome Suzette von Broembsen, Principal and Wealth Manager at PSG, to our Women in Investing series. Today we are going to be discussing a topic that's very close to my own heart as a wife and a mother, and that is why we should tackle household finances as a team and not leave it up to one individual. Suzette, just to set the scene, let's go back, a generation or two. Men were the primary breadwinners for the most part, and women probably had relatively little control of finances. So in your vast experience as a financial advisor, how have your conversations with women evolved, and how do you think women's knowledge about investments and wealth planning have changed over the years?
Thanks very much, Courtney. I truly think women have come in leaps and bounds. In the past, our discussions, you had a discussion in a meeting with a male, and these days it's very different. The women have gained confidence in asking questions. They want to be more involved, which we love. And in the areas where you've got a very good financial advisor, we actually find that advisor opens up the space for the wife to join in meetings. An interesting fact is that South Africa, from a female ranking point of view, we score 88 out of 100 in terms of women equality. And it really does open up the floor for females to be involved. We're really actually our own block. South Africa scores very highly in terms of equality and opening up opportunity for females to be involved in financial planning in all areas. So it's definitely changed over the last 15 years that I've been involved, and it's made my meetings with clients very meaningful.
I think you've answered my question, but in many cases, men are still the primary breadwinner, and women may have, albeit temporarily, decided to put their career aspirations aside and raise families. So why would you say it is so important for her to be equally plugged into how you discuss budgeting and investing for the future?
I think what I like the most about females being involved in wealth management is that they think completely differently to men. Statistics have shown that women are actually better investors than males. And if you look at block periods of over 10 years, we've seen that portfolios managed by female counterparts have in many cases outperformed the male counterparts' portfolios. So it's to our own detriment. Neither women or men acknowledge this and make it useful. We don't use it to our own benefit. So I think the value that a female brings to a party is significant. So what is interesting about the fact that females are actually very good investors is that women and men don't make use of this. So we end up depriving ourselves by earning less than we potentially could if the wife was involved. What is also interesting is that if a wife is involved in the daily management and she takes control of her spending habits or her investment habits, she actually offers relief to the husband. Many times husbands try and shy away the financial responsibilities away from their wives, to offer them, to not have to burden them with that responsibility. But it's actually silly because you're disempowering them. What I enjoy about women being involved is they are completely left field. So they ask questions that's not a financial indoctrination, that's not the right question to ask. They literally spit out what is in their mind when they're involved in a meeting. We had a review with a client 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was one of the other advisors in my team. And this client gave us a very low risk mandate for this portfolio that we're managing. And the advisor very confidently was giving across the returns and the low risk mandate. And in the middle of the meeting, the wife walks in, and she didn't know that we were meeting. And I think she was at bridge. She walks in, she glares over the table and she says, "This performance isn't looking that great." And immediately the advisor felt completely deflated. And I sat there and I absolutely loved it, because what happened was, 3 things happened. It opened up conversation to say, this is the mandate that your husband has picked. Why do you think are you not happy with it? What is your requirements? It opened up trust because she just said what she felt. So immediately we had her involvement, and we could discuss the portfolio with her and empower her. And finally, it actually, in that specific scenario, the portfolio risk taken was too low. So the fact that the wife with no knowledge of the mandate, walked in there and said, this performance isn't that great, was actually fantastic. Look, I don't know what the conversation was when we left, but I do think that that one comment that she made is going to earn us very big mile yards in the management of that family's money going forward.
Okay, but that brings me to my next question. So, we all have a different approach to spending, investing, and sometimes that can lead to tension in a relationship. So how do you address those, let's call them differences? How do you make them work in the sort of joint planning exercise that we're discussing?
Actually, is it the Springboks where they say stronger together? Yes. It really is the principle. I've got friends of mine where the wife has absolutely no idea what goes on in the finances. And it's going to blow up. It might blow up in 6 months' time. It only might blow up at retirement. It might blow up when the husband passes away. It is going to blow up. So having a differing viewpoint is very constructive. I think it adds value to the long-term decision-making of the family. It avoids mistakes, and it empowers the wife later on in her life when the husband is no longer around. So conflict can be handled very well if you have a good wealth manager or a good short-term insurance manager or a good life insurance broker that works with your family. That person will manage that situation very well. He or she would have the ability to dissect what the reason is for the difference and most likely offer a solution high level at that point, take back what was said in the conversation, and eventually offer something that I think could probably make a difference to the family. So I like it when couples disagree. We've as an example again, we've got one couple where that's the couple's Italian, and I'm Afrikaans. And in the meetings, the husband doesn't understand Afrikaans, and I don't understand Italian. So when things are going pear-shaped, the wife would say to me in Afrikaans, please change the direction. And then when they disagree, they have their disagreement in Italian. But we all actually walk away from there empowered and with a solution that works for the family. So definitely disagreement is a good thing. Agree to disagree, for sure.
Just to get back to an earlier point we made about men potentially being breadwinners, women potentially being, stay-at-home mums, conceivably have more time to develop their knowledge and interest in investing. What is your view on actually giving the woman control of the finances for a household?
I definitely think it's worthwhile for females to be involved in managing of the finances, whether it's the complete holistic viewpoint or whether it's high level. Women make up 42% of the global workforce. They make up they own and control 27% of the world's wealth. We're actually more powerful than we sometimes give ourselves credit for. In South Africa, we make up 52% of the workforce. So we make up more than half of the workforce in South Africa. Can you imagine if 52% of South African females actually take control and make clear and concise decisions of their and their family's wealth and portfolio management decisions? It will not only empower that family, but it will also empower South Africa and create, I think, a snowball effect of what we can do for our families. My biggest fear as an advisor is where I've worked with a husband for 5 or 10 or 20 years, and most of our clients we work with for very long, and he passes away, and at that point the wife might not be aware of exactly what the risk mandate was that was taken, exactly what the positioning of the portfolio is, and it's too much for her to handle, and she unwinds years of good work. That's detrimental. Statistics have shown that 70% of wives fire their financial advisor after the husband passes away, simply because she just doesn't feel in control and she wants to appoint someone that she's comfortable with. So for the wife to be involved from the start is critical. What we tend to forget is that women tend to spend more time with their children. So she's got more time on her hands to actually distribute fiscal discipline to her children, which will then resolve in intergenerational wealth. So the rule of the wife being involved is not just where both spouses have to work to keep bread on the table. It's actually applicable to your high net worth families as well. 60% of families don't maintain intergenerational wealth because of the fact that there's not trust and there's not communication. This is something that can be overcome if there's just a simple open discussion about where we are, what are our resources, what is my spending ability when you're no longer around, and that
involving the children
even involving the children. In many of our clients' cases, we actually do start to involve the children when the children are between their 40s, 50s, 60s, because we want the wealth to last for generations. So definitely, I think it's the role of the mom, wife, spouse, it's critical.
Okay, now here's another tricky situation. So we know the divorce rate in South Africa is high. Many people might get married for a second time. What guidance would you give? And you might have obligations to your children from your first marriage. You might then plug into another family where you're a stepmom. How do you give advice, financial advice to women in those situations?
Yeah, no, you are correct. A lot of divorced couples, and it's disheartening, but sometimes the first wife leaves a marriage with a certain amount of money, not actually understanding how to make that money work for her. And at the same time, she's got to go back to the workforce. She maybe has to find a job. She might be used to a certain lifestyle that you can't maintain anymore. So a very simple answer is really for the first wife, get a trusted advisor, whether it's a male or a female, someone that explains your financial position to you truthfully, someone that spends time with you during this transition period, work with cash flows, make sure that you are empowered to look after that capital, and you are forced into a position of looking after yourself. And it's quite simple. So paying for decent advice at that point is a must. For the second wife, you need to ask your husband to be honest with you about what the obligations is to the first family, and understand how that impacts your cash flow on a monthly basis. And it's something that's simple, but it's a very good tip to ensure that you can just take a deep breath, is make sure that you know who are the beneficiaries on your policies, which component goes to the ex-wife if something happens to you. Make sure the wills are updated. Double check the inheritance and how the children of the first marriage are affected, what's your responsibilities to them when the husband is no longer around. And those are practical things that you can do on your own if the situation is simple, and involve a good team of people to work with you over time if you do want a bit of support. But empowering yourself and knowing the bottom line is critical.
Suzette, we've run out of time, so just before we go, just a couple of final words of advice to women.
I think the first word would be allow your husband to involve you. Being argumentative or defensive, it's not gonna get you through. Globally, 43% of couples find it difficult to talk about money. So you're not alone. Actually, most females struggle to raise the topic and open up the discussion. But a good way to start is not to say, maybe you use the word you, use the word I. Say, I would like to understand, where are we financially? Thank him for what has been the process so far, and state your involvement going forward. And finally, I'm a mom too, knowing if it's not important to you, you must remember that if you are involved now, you can probably instill that into your children, and one day when you're no longer around, it'll have a big impact in their financial position. It will leave them in a good space. So if it's not about you, think a step further and think of those two little bodies in your house.
Suzette, thank you for sharing your insights and wisdom with us. Women have incredible abilities that we don't always give ourselves credit for, but I think we've all learned today what a critical role we can play in investing for our and our family's future success. Thank you.